Have you ever explained something so simple, so obvious, that a 10-year-old could understand it, and still watch the person in front of you completely fail to get it? Not because they weren't listening, because something deeper wasn't working. Today, we are exposing 5 behavioral signs of low cognitive ability that have nothing to do with IQ tests, school grades, or vocabulary. These signs hide inside ordinary conversations, and once you learn to see them, you will never be fooled by a loud voice or a confident tone again. Stay until the end, because the 5th sign is the one almost nobody talks about, and it explains why some people seem allergic to their own growth. Sign 1. They see only black and white. The first sign is the total absence of gray area. A sharp mind can hold 2 conflicting ideas at once and still function without collapsing into confusion. A person can be kind and still be wrong. A decision can be smart and still lead to a bad outcome. This kind of layered thinking takes real mental energy. A weaker mind cannot afford that energy, so it protects itself the only way it knows how. It deletes the complexity. Everything becomes good or evil, right or wrong, genius or idiot. There is no room left for nuance, because nuance is expensive, and their mental budget is already spent. Listen closely to how people speak, and you'll hear it instantly. Words like always, never, everyone, and nobody are not just verbal habits. They are confessions. They reveal a brain that has traded accuracy for simplicity because accuracy was too heavy to carry. Sign 2. Confidence without competence. The second sign is a level of confidence that has no relationship to actual ability. A genuinely intelligent person carries a quiet undercurrent of doubt, because the more they learn, the more clearly they see the size of what they don't know. Knowledge, ironically, makes people humble. The opposite is just as true. There is a well-known effect studied by researchers at Cornell, where people who performed the worst on tests of logic and grammar were the same people who rated their own performance the highest. They didn't just fail. They didn't have the mental tools required to even notice they had failed. The same lack of skill that produces the wrong answer also blocks the ability to recognize it as wrong. So the next time someone speaks with total, unshakable certainty about something they clearly haven't studied, you're not looking at expertise. You're looking at a blind spot the size of their entire ego. Sign 3. Feelings override facts. The third sign is when emotion is allowed to rewrite reality. For a mature, high-functioning mind, the order of operations is simple. Facts come first, and feelings adjust to match them. New evidence appears. The picture updates. No drama required. For a lower-functioning mind, that order is flipped completely. Feelings arrive first, and facts are bent, ignored, or reinvented until they match how the person already wants to feel. If a piece of information is uncomfortable, it gets rejected as a lie. If an idea feels good, it gets accepted as truth, no matter how flimsy the evidence behind it actually is. Their entire worldview isn't built on accuracy. It's built on emotional comfort, one convenient belief stacked on top of another. Before we go further, if you've already spotted one of these patterns in someone you know, drop a single word in the comments. Exactly. That tiny act of naming what you see is how critical thinking becomes a habit instead of an accident. Now, the 4th sign is where things get loud, literally. Sign 4. Volume instead of logic. The 4th sign is using noise as a substitute for reasoning. When a mind lacks the depth to build a real counter-argument, it reaches for the only tool it has left: repetition and volume. You'll notice this pattern immediately in any heated disagreement. The person doesn't ask questions. They don't test their own position. They simply repeat the same point, again and again, each time slightly louder than the last. To them, a conversation isn't a search for truth. It's a battlefield, and whoever is loudest walks away feeling like the winner. It's a primitive strategy, but it works often enough on people who mistake intensity for intelligence, which is exactly why it never seems to go away. Sign 5. Feedback. Feels like an attack. And here's the 5th sign. the one most people overlook completely, because it doesn't show up in an argument. It shows up in silence, in defensiveness, in the small moments after someone tries to help. Growth requires a person to look at their own mistakes with a level head and figure out how to do better. That process demands one uncomfortable skill: separating your worth as a person from your performance on a task. A sharp mind can hear, "This part didn't work," and simply think, "Okay, let me fix that part." A fragile mind cannot make that separation. To them, criticism of the work is criticism of their entire identity. So even the gentlest correction gets treated as a personal attack. Instead of adjusting quietly, they deflect, they blame someone else, or they go on the offensive.